Hi everyone, my name is Abisha Parikh. I am an immigration attorney with an office here in New Jersey. However, as an immigration attorney, I can practice in all 50 states. So if you have an immigration matter or a question, you can call me at my office line. I'm going to put it down here below. I can offer my assistance or my representation no matter where you're located in all 50 states. Today I'm going to go over the Affidavit of Support, but not only the I-864, but also I-864EZ, I-8664A, and the 864 form briefly only because I do have another video on it. This was a highly requested video, and I know the Affidavit of Support can be very confusing and challenging to fill out at times. Oftentimes what we see is that applicants that file for the green card on their own usually run into problems when it comes to the Affidavit of Support. So I'm going to try my best to clear up any confusion or any questions or more frequently made mistakes on these forms. If you do have questions, feel free to leave them down below. I do try to get to each and every question. If I don't, I will try to make a follow-up video that incorporates your questions within that video. Before we get started, I would also request that if you do enjoy this video or enjoyed my other videos on my channel, please hit the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up so this lets me know what type of content you guys are really most interested in. So if you are applying for a green card or you're sponsoring someone for a green card, I'm sure you've come across from I-864 Affidavit of Support. An affidavit of support is a legal document that is required in majority of family-based cases. And this is an assurance for the government that the intending immigrant will not become a public charge here in the U.S. once they obtain their green card. With regard to the I-864 Affidavit of Support form, however, there are 4 different variations within this affidavit itself, which include the I-864EZ, the I-864W, the actual I-864, and the I-864A. So how do you know which one you need to fill out and submit to USCIS or the National Visa Center? That's exactly what I'll be going over in this video. I'll go over which form you need to fill out, whether if you're the petitioning sponsor, the joint sponsor, or a household member for the sponsor. So let's start with form I-864EZ. So I-864EZ, Affidavit of Support, is a shorter, simpler version of the I-864 form. In order for you to be able to use this form, you have to meet certain criteria. So let's walk through the criteria together. So in order to be eligible to use form I-864EZ, you must meet all of the following requirements. So 1, you must be the petitioner who filled out the form I-130 on behalf of the intending immigrant. So you have to be the original petitioner of the file. You have to have listed only one immigrant on the I-130 form without any derivative spouses or children. And last, you must be able to show sufficient income to support the intending immigrant based solely on your salary or pension, which amount is shown on the W-2 forms provided by your employer or your previous employer. So generally, who would be eligible in these cases? Well, spouses of U.S. citizens or green card holders. However, if you're a green card holder who applied for a spouse and you have children, then you wouldn't be eligible. Most frequently in my office, we see that we tend to use form I-864EZ, usually in cases where the U.S. citizen has applied for their spouse or a parent because they are the main petitioner on the file and there's no other derivatives listed in that file. You remember, U.S. citizens must file for each parent or each child and each derivative separately with a separate I-130. They cannot be included as derivative applicants. Also, another caveat, even if you meet all of the requirements, you don't necessarily have to fill out and submit form I-864EZ. So if you're confused or on the fence whether you need to use this form, you can always submit the full I-864 form to NVC or USCIS. You make that choice. Now, let's talk about who should not use the I-864EZ form. Number one, if you're the relative you're sponsoring is not the only person immigrating based upon the underlying visa petition, so meaning there are multiple family members within one single I-130 petition. Number two, if you are a joint sponsor. Number three, if you are a substitute sponsor filing the original I-130 form for a petitioner who is deceased, so usually in a humanitarian case. Or number four, your salary or pension is not enough to meet the income requirements as set by the federal poverty guideline. So if you're not sure about what that number is, you can go visit the USCIS website, just Google I-864P. That will tell you that based on your household size, what is the minimum income requirement for you to show in order for you to sponsor your immigrant or your family member for the immigrant petition. So if you fall into any of these categories above, then you need to fill out Form I-864. So let's move on to Form I-864W. When can you use this form? If you have worked in the US for at least 10 years, or specifically speaking, if you have earned credit equivalent to 40 quarters in Social Security payments, or you will become a US citizen once you enter the US because a parent is a US citizen and you are at least 14 years old, then in that case, you are required to submit Form I-864W in place of Form I-64. There are two more categories that need to use the I-864W form. One, self-petitioning widowers, and two, self-petitioning battered child or spouse. So if you fall into any of those categories, you need to file Form I-864W. If you would like me to do a more detailed video on I-864W, leave me a comment below so I know that a lot of you guys are looking for that information. For now, this is just a general overview, so that's all I'm going to talk about when it comes to that form. As for the I-864A, it is a contract between the sponsor and the household member. A household member can be a relative living in the same household as the sponsor. That person must submit Form I-864A, which basically represents a contract between the sponsor, the household member, and the intending immigrant. Now, if you don't meet the minimum requirement as the main sponsor for an immigrant petition, and you are adding a joint sponsor rather than a household member, like I just mentioned earlier, your joint sponsor will have to fill out their own I-864 form. Form I-864 must also be used in the following situations. When, one, you are not able to use the I-864EZ or I-864W that we just talked about. Two, there is more than one person that you are petitioning or sponsoring. Three, you are using a co-sponsor, also known as a joint sponsor, to meet the minimum income requirement. Four, the income to prove minimum income is not based solely on your salary or pension. Also, if the income is not shown in one or more of the IRS form W-2s or 1099s provided by your employer or former employers. So this means that you are using an alternate source of income to show that you meet the minimum requirements in order to sponsor your family member. Right? So that sums up all of the variations of Form I-864 Affidavit of Support forms. If you would like a more in-depth look at any of the listed forms, leave me a comment below so that I can do a follow-up video that could be helpful to you guys. Last but not least, if you found this video helpful, give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button so that you could be notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you for watching and thank you for your support. Hope you have a great day.